Hello, my beautiful viewers on E360. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? So ask us, ask us. We are over the moon. We've got an amazing spotlight author here. But before we're going to ask the panel, my co host, to introduce himself, and then a beautiful Ernest to introduce himself, I quickly want to do a shout out. I do want to do a shout out to our beautiful miracle man, Howard. I want to say, my beautiful Howard. Oh, Ernie, I love your glasses. It's so beautiful. I love it. So, Howard, Miracle Man, look at Ernie's glasses.
I
I
know.
love it. I love it. I love it. So, my Miracle Man, you are going through your own journey. And I know today is a very special day for you. So, you are in my praise and in my thought. Thank you for being our Miracle Man.
Yes.
Now, my beautiful Laura, please introduce yourself, and then we will be going over to Krista, and then we will take it from there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Love you, HB. Come on. We're rooting for you. Laura Brennan Ballet, empowerment coach. I specialize in thought energy, and this is all around mindset development. And like my esteemed co host and guest, we are authors, storytellers. I really believe we are working actual magic into the universe so that we can heal and elevate and truly evolve past where we are. We speak on podcasts and stages all over the world, and this is really a wonderful family. So now you are part of it. Welcome.
Yes, that was fantastic. So, my name is Krista Rose. I'm coming from Canada. And yes, it is snowing today, in case anyone wants to know. Um, I am an Amazon #1 best-selling author. My book is called Skip the Pain, Experience a Pleasure. And I have to say my tagline, cut the crap that's holding you back so you can live the life you love. And I really talk about, shifting your mindset from a place of pain and feeling yourself into a place of purpose and passion. I'm also an international speaker, both podcasts and on stages and in countries. I'm an energy worker, a nutritionist, and Reiki master, and I'm just really here to uplift others and highlight people as best as I can. And when I came across your book, and when I came across you you're such a gentleman, and it was amazing conversation we had. So I'm so excited to get into this and talk with you.
Thank you.
Jeanette.
Oh, I'm next.
No,
Actually, Miss
first me, and then I will get to introduce you. So thank you, my beautiful Ernie. So my name is Sinette, and I am your voice amplifier, creating space and stages for millions of people around the world to share their wisdom, their brilliance, and their transformative stories. And this is also a way that we are going to hear beautiful Ernest's story and the reason why he wanted to do the book. So, my beautiful Ernie, I call you Ernie, and you said I can. Please introduce yourself, and then my first question will be for you.
Whoops. Go ahead, Ernie. Go ahead, Ernest. She'll come back.
All right. My name's Ernest Wood, and I'm from San Diego, and it's 74 degrees outside right now. So, super nice. We're not having to worry about the snow. Yeah, I decided to write my book, A-Hole to Awesome or Bleep to Awesome, because I looked in the mirror and I did not like the guy that I saw. And I decided that I needed to change it because I wanted to leave a better legacy, be happy. And I had to learn to be happy from inside. And so I went on the journey, and the book is what I spit out kind of deal.
Well, we'll wait for Miss Sinette to come back. I was saying to Ernest before we went live that I really loved, and Krista, I know because we're always like-minded here. I loved the way, Ernest, that you were, and we throw this word authentic around, but you really, for me, were very raw in who you are. But then you tempered it, I thought, with a very kind of eloquent, emotional, as I said, acuity, which I really appreciate. My style of writing is all around, thought energy and the power of words and the energy that's structured within those words. So when I read it, even if you read my book, you'd see there's this very unique similarity, minus the male perspective and all the journeys that you went through. But I just thought I think this is just a great book in general for more people than they would realize. It gives you these incredible insights, right, Krista? These moments of
Absolutely.
gained wisdom and these techniques and tools, which, well, I'm going to ask about, and Krista may too, throughout the writing. So I thought it was amazing. But I'll ask Krista maybe to start with the first question, and then we'll see when that
Absolutely.
comes in.
Yeah, you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And like Laura said, it was raw and it was real. I love the way you structured your wording to be, like we said, authentic. And I know for myself, after reading this, I looked in the mirror and said, huh, what kind of person do I want to be? So before Laura steals my quote, because we often do this, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to ask you one of the quotes that you put in the book. And if you could tell me why, I mean, I have the sense because I read the book and I know where the chapter lies, but maybe why you picked that particular quote. So I'll read it. He says, first of all, you learn a simple trick. Scout, you'll get along much better with all kinds of folks. You really never understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around with it. And that's from To Kill a Mockingbird. That was so strong for me because I always say you never know what's happening behind closed doors. So if you can expand on that a little bit and tell our viewers about it, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that one, it was because I found like I lacked a couple things, and the few things that I did lack was forgiveness, gratitude, and empathy. And empathy is one of those ones I think in general in the world we lack, right? And it's because like even if you look at like countries, we all like they're all fighting with each other because it's like a lack of empathy. You can't put yourself in the other person's shoe, and until you can do that, you can step back and like in the quote, almost you put on somebody else's skin or you put on somebody else's shoes, right? You never know, because I always tell this story. You're the same exact person, right? But you're walking down the road and you meet this lady and you meet her on the worst day of her life. Like her car just got hit. Her child is in the hospital and all the bad stuff. Or you meet this lady and she just won the lottery or she just had a kid. She just had her first grandkid. How is that person's going to be 100% different, right? So we never know what somebody's going to go through at the time that we met them or we're meeting them. And you kind of have to just take a step back and just and understand that, like everybody's going to have their different good days, their different bad days, and it's not necessarily the whole person, right?
Mm.
Yeah. You know what? I truly believe that empathy is the number one quality that a lot of people need and they lack. And by you, the way you expressed it throughout your book, it wasn't like only one part or this one quote, it was throughout your book. It really highlighted the importance of what empathy does, not only for the other person, but for yourself, the way you view yourself. and it's like a mirror. So yeah, you did that so amazing, and I know that a lot of the readers, you have to get this book because you're going to be amazed about all these insights that you're going to receive, and have some empathy as you go through the day.
I,
Miss
Sinette
Sinette,
or Laura?
yeah, I'll wait. I just said a little something while we were waiting for you, and then I had Krista ask the first question. So would you like to go next, and then I'll follow.
Thank you. So I do apologize. This our power switch went off. So in South Africa we get load shedding, and then there's a whole contraption. Everybody's running to put us on power, on battery power. So thank you for waiting. But I knew my girls will be able to continue. So my beautiful Ernie, did you answer the question? Why did you wanted to do this book? Did you answer that part?
nope, because I didn't hear it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So why I wrote the book was while I was going through the like I said earlier, I didn't like the guy I was in the mirror, but while I was fixing or quote unquote fixing myself, I'd read 500 other self-help books, and like the thing that I kept finding that I was missing was I didn't know where I was starting. I knew like the goal that I had, write your goals down and do this, do that, do this, but there was a whole bunch of little knots inside of me that I had to start untying, and I had to fix those because until you know where you're at and know what you're missing, it's hard to get to where you want to go. And the more people I talked to, they were doing the same thing. It's like people going on a diet, right? You go on a diet, you're super good on it for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but then all of a sudden you weigh 5 pounds more than you were when you started the diet. And that's what I was doing. I was super nice for a day or two, and then somebody would do something, and then, whoo, there comes that guy. And I just kept going back to it. But and then I figured out who I was, I fixed that, and then I was able to start making progress in every part of it.
Mm.
Wow, thank you. And that is one of my big thing as well. As soon as I start to bring self-love into my life and forgive myself, then my weight just drops. So I love that. I love that. Thank you. All
Mm.
over to you, my beautiful Laura.
Thank you. Already, I'm thinking of, again, we talked about these gems, these golden nuggets of empathy, of self love, of really giving yourself that compassion that you did, Ernest. And I think that's something that as a man in general, we don't hear so often. And it's really wonderful to have a male author come out and, again, be very forthright who I am, but then to have the ability to step back and look at yourself, I just think that's very commendable. I really do. And I think if more men did that, better husbands, better fathers, better leaders, and as Krista said, gentlemen energy, which is really important, and we need that. So I love that. But I'm getting right into the nitty gritty because that's what I like to do. So you wrote about response versus reaction. And I write about this in my book. It's what I coach on. Krista probably has that question
Oh
somewhere in her
yeah. Yep.
arsenal. But I really love this because I'm a big kind of proponent of this. We are reactionary beings. We're born and seeded into reaction right from the get-go, right? The crying and someone says no and we throw a tantrum. Reaction gets us things, not always right. And when you wrote about this in the book, people will see how reaction feeded that part of you, but then you realize that you didn't want to feed that beast per se anymore. However, moving from reaction to response is a big gray area for most of us. Even, and I'm sure you probably are finding, even as skilled as you have now become, you write so many beautiful techniques and tools, etc. But I still know that every day we get challenged, and that reactionary pattern is still circulating somewhere, right, in the psyche. What is something that you personally do now that you've written the book, now that you've had time to look past it? But you now, what's your go-to? So the listening audience, we all know what it's like. We react to everything. We want to be more responsive, right? There's a refinement and elegant in response versus right the reaction. But I'm curious at this point, after the 5 years of writing the book, now not being such a bleep anymore and becoming more awesome every day. What's kind of a tool, a skill, a technique, or even a mindset process that you go through that would help the listeners?
What I've found, and it's helped, it's kind of like there's like little parts of it, right? Every single day I write three things that I'm grateful for.
Mm.
One about myself, one about my spouse, and one about the world. And so that starts my day off with a positive mindset towards each one of those things, right? Because sometimes I'm not going to lie, there's some days I have a very hard time writing something good about my spouse because she just ripped my butt about something that I don't think I deserved it on, right? But if I can do that, I still get that positive mindset. And so that helps because now my mind is always looking for the positive thing, right? And then I
Yes.
believe in breath work. I 100% believe, you should only breathe through your nose and there's a saying, you 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 breathe through your mouth as often as you eat through your nose. And I
Like it.
100% try to that is my I try to do that working out everything. But what that does is it keeps that parasympathetic nervous system always connected. So if something comes up, if I can, what I do, like for me, my little thing is if somebody's having says something that kind of gets on my nerve, I pinch my finger and I do my
Mm,
breath. And by
nice.
doing the pinch my finger, I get my breath set. And if I can get that breath in there before I react, I am really super good at responding. And it's all about just giving that extra second, right?
I love that answer. Again, it's applicable. We can all do something. And it makes me think of back in the Alcohol Anonymous when they used to have a rubber band and like snap a rubber band. I know this from, yup, thinking a negative thought like that really maybe not having the urge to drink, but yes, starting to move there with the urge to react. And so I love the connection, the physiology of just pinching your finger. But everyone I can already feel, right? Even Christy, you're thinking something I would do to be this almost physical break in the pattern of reaction. And then, as you said, just that breath, there's this very beautiful pause that even if it's for 2 or 3 seconds, it really does give you this space. And again, what you're doing, and you talk about this in the book, and I coach on patterns, recalibrating patterns, and I think you do this beautifully in the book. By your writing, it allows the reader to start to think differently and therefore feel like they can maybe create newer patterns. And I think what you just said, I guarantee you, right, Krista, there's going to be people in the audience that are going to go or snap. They're going to do something and breathe, touch their fingers and breathe. And you'd be amazed at what happens when you do that. And I know you know this because you've written about it in the book and you just so beautifully were vulnerable and expressed. Sometimes our spouses get a little under our skin, and then the fingers and the breath. And there's something that does for us. It shifts something. So again, I know Krista, Rose, and I will be saying this throughout, but this book really is loaded, loaded. It's almost like a coaching session as you read it. So I loved it. So thank you. Beautiful gem for the listening audience.
Yeah,
Rosebud, you're up.
I totally get it. And you know, of course you stole at least part of my question, but just to go off that, I always say the power of the pause. And you wrote that as well. To have that pause before you react, respond. But you gave a specific tool. So as you were talking, what am I doing? I'm pinching my finger, I'm breathing through my nose. I'm like,
Yep.
yes, this does work.
Yeah.
So you do know this is live TV. and we also get some feedback. So I'm going to read you a little bit of some of the comments. So from Mr. Fahrenheit, he says, hello, with some emojis. And beginning within guidance says, love the title of your book. Thank you for sharing so plainly and clearly. And
Nice.
again, begin with guidance. We all have the ability to respond, a responsibility. I like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Responsibility.
I love
Good,
that. Look at
good
that. See
job. Look,
how we
look at that.
inspire.
See,
Yeah.
you can take a book that you wrote, you can write it through your perspective, but look at how it shifts now. The audience who's watching us right now, who is taking it personally and twisting it in a way that they understand. So the people you're impacting more than you even think you are, or maybe you thought you were when you were writing the exact words. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them and definitely, spotlight that on often. I know in my book as well, I wrote it with maybe some intention about how it was affecting me or how I was wanted it to be perceived by the readers. But at the same time, the messages I received back, I was blown away because I thought, oh, I never seen it like that, or that's a different perspective because they're coming from it from a different viewpoint, right? Their own biases, their own life stories, and so they're able to connect with it differently. But I want to talk a little bit about the gremlins.
Yeah.
So I love the gremlins because I think we all have a gremlin in us. So you say a little bit about the gremlins, if you're letting the gremlins loose, it becomes chaos with crappy behavior. And I can relate to the gremlins. If anybody doesn't know, the gremlins, you just, I'm sure whatever show, whatever platform you can look at it. It's really good. Don't feed them past midnight. Anyway, can you explain now a little bit about what I'm talking about letting the gremlins loose and all that crappy behavior and what you were meaning about that?
To me, I had a whole bunch of little gremlins. Like, I even had the food one. Like, if I wasn't fed at a certain time, dude, I was the biggest jerk in the world. I was that uh what is that, the Snickers commercial or whatever. I was like Betty White, like losing my. But it's just about like not feeding into the negative. For me, that's what it was. Like, I always fed into like anything that was negative, or it's easy to do, right? Because the world is like, everybody, the news is out there and it's negative. And why is it negative? Because it sells more. And it's easier to have everybody, when you say something, everybody's going to jump on your side. And then that big ball just gets bigger and bigger, all this big negative ball of energy out there. But what I found was, like, you can almost do the same thing with the positive, right? It just grows a little slower. And that was the thing about that. It was like, don't feed the little gremlin. Don't feed the negative. Be mindful of what you're bringing in and what you're giving out, because it all comes back around. The more times that you act like a jackass, the more times somebody's going to act like that to you. And that's what I have found lately. Like, I'm usually just, it is what it is. And I don't react anymore. And I don't judge hardly ever. And so now, like, I don't run into those people that were always pissed off, because I'm not that guy who was always pissed off. So, like, don't feed the gremlin. Just, be on the positive side. And it's not all, you're not going to be perfect. None of us are perfect. We're all going to have our good days. We're going to have our bad days. But if you can have more good days and bad days and have a positive overall impact on your surrounding, that's all it's about.
Oh, that was fantastic because I like the way you worded what that was. You actually put gremlin. So I know what a gremlin looks like. So instead of saying, some chaos in our world or wanting to react because we're frustrated, we're angry, we're sad, you actually gave it kind of a figure, a gremlin. So I can literally think of it now, like this gremlin on my shoulder saying to me, all this stuff, and it's almost like a magnet. When people are standing around gossiping and you just kind of, you're watching them, you're looking at them, you're like, I wonder what they're talking about. I wonder what they're talking about. I think that's the gremlin coming in. And then what do? You end up going closer and closer to them. And then next thing you know, you find yourself joining in and going, actually, what I saw, I mean, the story could have started out like this, and then it ends up being like that. But all you're doing is spreading, more of that gremlin, more of that, negativity, and giving it more power. So that gremlin is getting bigger and bigger, and it's affecting everybody in that circle. So when you were talking about embracing and watching, putting out the positivity, you won't even be the one who's going to go up to the people who are complaining and gossiping. You just won't be attracted to that. But again, I'm going to just read a couple of these. The quotes are coming in. So we have, and don't get the gremlins wet. That's true. Slow and steady wins the race. And
Nice.
a beautiful emoji of a emoji with sunglasses. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that's for HB.
Yep. Shout out to Howard Brown, Mr. Shining Brightly. Yeah. Come
So
on,
yeah,
Ernest, put those shades on because those are the coolest shades. I
those
mean,
are,
they
yeah,
are. They're amazing.
they
It even
are.
makes my head look thinner.
I love it. Miss Sinette,
Holy moly.
please. The floor is yours while you are here navigating the power outages in South Africa. I know.
So my husband and my son just again did try to do their best, but we just do the best that we can, and we just are grateful for everything in our lives. So and ladies, and my beautiful Ernest, if somebody have asked you this question, because all of us are preparing our own questions, the question that beautiful Laura have asked, it was on my list as well. So I wanted to ask, can you share a specific moment or turning point in your life
Mm.
that have influenced you and have transformed you the way that you are now?
Um, there, like I always talk about, there's two moments that actually helped me stop being the jerk that I was, and one of them was a road rage thing. While I was listening to Brian Tracy tell, don't give your emotions to anybody else. Somebody cut me off and I gave all of my emotions away. I gave a lot more than my emotions, a couple fingers and everything like that. So I went down the road. I was cutting off people, doing all kinds of stupid things. And then when I finally got next to the guy, I found out I looked in the back and he had a kid in his car. And that was like the first one. And then I worked at a power plant and I got compared to a guy and this was after I was already doing some work, because I know like I had some whining and, complaining. I did that a lot, but I was already kind of working on myself. And this guy goes, "Hey, you're just like this guy." And those two things gave me like, that was it. Already knew that I didn't like myself, but now other people didn't like me either. Right. And so I did that. And then I did the eulogy exercise. And the eulogy exercise was like, I think the biggest moment for me overall, because if you can, in the eulogy exercise, what it is you act like you're at a funeral, but you're at your own funeral, right? And you're on the outside of it. And how many people would be there and what would they say about you? And when I did that, I was like, dang, like it actually hurt a little bit. I was like, I got uncomfortable, got a little like sweaty armpits and stuff like that. And I had to go, like, dude, I didn't know if I had to have probably 5 or 6 people there, and they would probably said, "Man, that guy he was a funny jackass, but he was not a whole lot more." And that's that the big those three things I think are what really got me to really head to where I'm at.
Wow. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for realizing that and taking your life into the way that you wanted to predict. It was a soul plan in any way. And I love that you, when we had our coffee chat, that you are motivating other men to get themselves up and ready and start to looking into their feelings. So I just wanted to say thank you for making that decision. You are truly an inspiration. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah. I have a few questions now that are coming just naturally out. And I just was brought back to the scene in the book with you and your brother, one of the 1,001 times that you just kicked each other's butts terribly because that's just what you did. You didn't know any way else of how to, how to be in the world. And even with your grandmother in the window, and how like there's such vulnerability in the story of your life, and again to mimic Sinette, and I think it's so important for men to know it is absolutely okay to be a bleep, but it is imperative that you become awesome. And I think your book is again, this very unique and empowering. I'm going to say it's like a coaching book. If you just go into it with the mindset of, okay, Ernest is coaching me through this book, everyone's going to come out better than they went into the reading. So I really love that. So I have a question that I think is really important. There you go. Good. Yeah, you own that. You own that. It's beautiful. One of the things I really loved, and it's towards the end of the book, and we're not even talking, Krista, I know you're thinking like I am, the way that you formatted it, all the gems. I have a question around the emergency kit, but something I really thought was quite empowering, which is what I talk about around the globe, to empower oneself. And only when you take that journey in that way can you truly empower other people, which is, a testament to what the work you do and continue to do. You write about the difference between kind and nice. I loved this. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire book. Almost everyone, I bet you, if you ask them, they would say it's one and the same, or they're very similar. And you wrote something about around the definition of both of them. I think it's important for the listeners to hear the difference between what we feel is being nice and when we are truly, genuinely, almost self actualized into kindness. I think it would shift humanity and our path to evolution personally and collective elevation if we knew the difference and if we chose to activate kindness opposed to possibly the delusion of niceness. So have some fun and talk about that because I really thought it was quite brilliant to put that in the book.
This is one of those ones that I did get a little bit of kickback on because like you said, most people think it's similar. But to me, they're exact opposite. Like, because nice is like naive, you have no boundaries, and you're doing crap just to maybe get somebody to tell you thank you or whatever it is. And that's how I see it. Like, even if you look up the definition or where like nice came from, it came from like ignorance, right? And kind is like actually something that's felt by like the heart. Like you're doing something because you genuinely feel it and you want to do it. It took me a long time to learn. Like I was never like to me, I was not a kind person. I always did a lot of nice crap. I did a lot of nice things for people, but it was just because I wanted the attention of being, oh, hey, look at the nice guy, right? And then I found out that that's not the way you want to do it. It never brought me like happiness. Not that I was just looking out for me, but when I do my acts of kindness, it brings joy to me. It brings joy to the world, and it builds upon that. And like, I'll just tell you my little act of kindness that I do now. Like all profits from my book go to help this little guy that has leukemia. And I don't like even past when he gets better, I'm gonna find the next little person that that's suffering. And
Yeah.
and I think that's what it's about. It's not about, yeah, I could be nice and say, hey, if somebody buys 2 books, I'll send them $10, or I can do an act of kindness and everything freaking just goes to them, right? And and it's all about also respecting yourself, because you have to have boundaries in life. And I think that's where the difference between kindness and niceness is you have to respect yourself enough to to not do some of the stupid things that people ask you to do or you feel like you maybe should do, because it's not benefiting really anybody or yourself. You're putting yourself in a worse situation. Now you're going to get less sleep. Now you're more stressed. And then you pass on that one little act of niceness and you pass that on to your spouse or you pass that on to your kids. But if you're truly being kind, it's a rewarding thing that now you're going to pass that on to your spouse. Now you're going to pass that on to your kids, and you're going to pass that on to the next person.
Hmm. I love that. Thank you. And I feel that the listening audience will understand that and be able to have their own perspective and differentiate. Because as you were saying that, you could do things out of nicety, but you are knowing that, but when you truly manifest and create an act of kindness, it really is just purely from the heart. And there's no look back. What am I getting? How is it serving me? It's just this genuine. So I think that was really important. I love that. That, like I said, it was one of my favorite parts because it also, you talk about self-awareness, self-accountability, and kind of the way that you write, and you talk about it now. Even, I'm still working on things, which we all will be, right, to the last breath. But I love that. I love that acknowledgement of when we're kind to ourselves. I think that kindness just kind of moves out of us onto others. But most of us aren't nice to ourselves anyways, because that energy of nice, it's almost, you write a little bit in the book, right? There's a little bit of manipulation to it, or it's contrived on a certain level. So I love it. And thank you. I really, as a writer myself and as a coach, I loved that part of the book. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very
Yeah.
kind of you.
To jump off that, I say at the end of my book and a lot of my talks, above all, be kind. And you took what I was saying and what I was trying to, you know, give that message to a whole new level. So now I think you gave it a little bit more, meat on the bones type of thing. So when people, buy your book and they read that, they'll see it from a depth that is more than just being kind or just being nice. So I love the way that you separated that. Definitely agree. So you definitely have fans coming on here. So I'm going to read one more. It says, I like to say nice for show and kind to grow.
Oh,
Look at
beautiful.
You see all these gems that you have started purely because you wrote a few things, we're talking about a few things, and it's sparking some amazing insights for other people. Maybe people who want to write a book. I don't know. Because you took that on and you decided to write a book. And I didn't know ahead of time from our conversation that you take the proceeds, and I really want to highlight this and give it to, a little boy who has leukemia. That is being kind. I know a lot of us have been, definitely all of us have been touched by someone with cancer, and that act of kindness of giving part of yourself up is just, you know, amazing. And I think it speaks volumes, you know, for you. But I'm going to actually jump to, I think, kind of my last question in case we run out of time. So you were talking about your own eulogy. Okay. So how many people would show up? What would they say to you or say about you? So what would you say now after everything you've been through, after you starting to transform yourself from bleep to awesome? What is your legacy?
Nice.
My legacy that I want to leave behind is that I was just a kind person. Like I understood myself. I found my happiness from within, and I was able to help other people find happiness. Because I think in this world, too many of us chase happiness and it's always outside of us, right? Everybody always goes and freaking, I need the bigger house. I need a better car. I need to, a hotter wife or whatever, or, like the hot girlfriend. And so many of us get caught up in like trying to keep up with the neighbor. And half the time we don't even like the damn neighbor. Like it, I don't mean it like but it's like we just get caught up in that. But like I really wish, and that's what I want to do, is just teach people how to find that happiness inside. And I'm just going to go real quick into it. And it all starts with like those little 5 fundamentals that we're all missing in life. And this is going to go into the next book, but it's sleep, nutrition, breath, hydration, and movement. And if you can get those things dialed in, because your physiology drives your psychology, proven fact, right?
Yes.
And I was never able to, because I was still like I looked like I was in great shape, but mentally, like I was jacked up because I didn't sleep good. I probably wasn't hydrated right. I didn't know anything about breathing. And then I fixed those. And that's where like I was able to step up into the next things. And that's where I found my happiness, because I fixed those 5 things. And then all of a sudden I found forgiveness, and I found gratitude, and I found empathy. But just start with the something small. Start with the little things that every single buddy can change.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So before I respond again, some of your fans, I'm going to read one of the comments. It says to donate all the proceeds is amazing. Wow. And a bunch of emojis and clapping of hands. So, you know, it really touched other people. And that's why we do this on live TV, so other people can hear. But, you know, and you said that's your legacy. And I thought, fantastic, because you wrote it so clearly in your book. It said true happiness doesn't come from putting others down or asserting dominance. It comes from lifting others up. And, you know, taking responsibility for your own actions. And you said it just beautifully. So thank you so much for sharing that. Miss Annette.
Oh, thank you, my beautiful Krista. Yes, when I had a coffee chat with beautiful Ernest, I was blown away by his amazingness. So, my beautiful Ernest, do you have advice for anybody out there that really wants to have their story in a book form? Can you give them any advice?
I kept getting stuck. Like I was a lot like Krista, where she talked about she wrote it and she got rid of it and wrote it again. And I kept doing that. Learn to use AI. Like it is such an amazing tool, because it is so much easier to write not on a blank piece of paper, right? And then you use your imagination, but you plug it into AI, and they're going to give you little tidbits to kind of go off of and build it off of that. But be true to yourself. Don't try to be some fake freaking whatever. Like just because you read a book on how to sleep doesn't make you a damn doctor in sleeping, right? Like I That's my biggest thing in life is just be true to who you are. And that's why, like, sometimes I have a hard time because I do cuss a lot. Not like an exuberant amount, but it's just me, right? And even on this show, I can't say some of my words, and I'm like, ah! But
I know.
it's just about being true to who you are. Use AI because it is a magnificent, a great tool. Like, see, because like I never thought I could write a book because I can't even say half the damn words. you know, my book. It's just the way my tongue works. Sometimes it doesn't always work. But yeah, man, just if you want it and you have a book in you, do it. Stop put it. And another little tidbit is put an action plan to it. Right, put that goal out there. I'm going to have a book done by February of 2026, and then you work backwards, know how many pages you want, and then get it done. Stop making excuses. It's all about consistency.
I love that.
Amazing. And I love that you say authentic, because there's a lot of people that really needs, if they really tap into their heart and soul, they will get their authentic self to put on words. So thank you, my beautiful Ernest. So yeah.
I wanted to make one quick comment when you said about AI. There's a lot of controversy, around AI for creators and visionaries, but I loved how you just put it. It's challenging to look at a blank page. And when you type into AI, for those that maybe don't have the confidence, say, to just start writing, there's these words that spark what is already in you. So I love that idea for all the people out there that want to write and feel that they have a story to tell, but aren't sure how to construct it by punching into AI. And it could be anything: how to write a book, how to start a book, it will give you almost that springboard that I think a lot of people need. So I think that was really great advice. All
It'll
right,
give
you
you an
ready?
amazing out. Oh, it'll give you an amazing outline too, and then that's a great place too.
Yeah. Full transparency. I'm a little, my gremlin won't allow me to use AI. Haven't used it ever in my life. I refuse to go into AI right now because that's my old school brain. But I'm working with some people doing some things and they're using it, and it is amazing. I think for certain like video productions and marketing, and I think it's really cool. But I'm still old school, like as a writer. But that's why I wanted to bring awareness to what you just said. 5 years is a long time to take to write a book. And AI now is like a teacher, a professor, it's a partner that can help activate, I think, that genius and brilliance that's sitting in some people. So I think that's really great advice. All right, you ready? We're ready for speed round. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just going to say a word, and then you could just give a brief kind of response, and we'll do 5 of them. Okay. All right. First word: reaction.
Response. Um, I mean, that's kind of the obvious, right? We already chatted about it. Try not to react. Reaction is horrible. Try to respond. Take that second.
I love it. Family.
Priority. Too many people, we make like business or making money the priority. And, we move away from the family because we're so busy trying to make a great business or make that money. Without the family or some kind of backing, I mean, you're just going to be doing it by yourself, and then you're going to end up at that funeral with nobody around.
I love that. That's beautiful. Cursing.
Love it. There's actually studies done that shows people who use foul language are more trustworthy because it's like a natural thing. And now I don't say, don't just sit there and just F bomb every other thing when you're, especially like if you're at your grandma's house, but there is a time and place for it.
I love it. I love it. Journaling.
Oh man, necessity.
Ooh.
I think that is one of the biggest things that can help somebody change because you're constantly reflecting every single day on what you did good and what you did not do so good. I 100%. If you can do anything out of this show, do some journaling.
I love that. That's so beautiful. So I have two words, and I know which one I want to go, but I'm being called to the other one. So I'm going to ask you the word patterns.
That's just the way. Oh man, I'm gonna go with triggers because everybody gets triggered, right? And we have a pattern on how we react to like that goes back to the reaction, right? I think patterns is what kind of ruins a lot of people's lives because we don't ever want to get out of that pattern. We feel comfortable in it, and like you always hear the saying, get uncomfortable being or be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that is like, dude, it's amazing when you can actually get out of those patterns and learn to live your life not through your subconscious mind, but actually consciously live.
Mm,
It's huge.
I love this. I love it. I knew the speed round was going to be fantastic with any of the words that any of us brought to you because it's all in the book, but I love your responses. I love them. I think there we go. There's 5 more golden nuggets, insight and wisdom to take away from the show. So thank you, Ernest.
Thank you.
Miss
So, my
Cindy.
beautiful Ernest, how are you feeling at this moment?
Excited. I liked it. It was awesome. I appreciate you so much for having me on the show. And you 3 ladies are absolutely lovely and a great time to chat with.
Wow,
Beautiful.
thank you. So, my beautiful Ernest, may I ask, will you have a dance with the 3 of us?
Well, the old me would be like, heck yeah, but no, yeah, of course.
Okay. I almost thought now, my beautiful audience, I thought he's going to say no, and then what then?
Oh.
Then I cannot ask you to have a dance. So, my beautiful audience, will you have a dance with us? They said yes. They said yes. Here we go.
With those shades on, Ernest.
Woohoo! Our
I love it.
alien.
Feel the beat.
You're so cool.
Walking on sunshine or dancing in the rain. Sprinkle me with fairy dust so I can fly away. Smiling at a moonbeam or squinting in the sun. Sprinkle me with fairy dust and cover me with love.
Woo!
From butterflies to eagles, oh, there's magic in that flight. Sprinkle me with fairy dust, watch me take to the
Bye. Boy, dude, I love
Bye.
it. Ernest. I love it. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Be kind.
High